let's start here and notice what if he says anything that could be related to trucks, Ottawa, and other cities, because this isn't, like Uganda's hockey team, and maybe they have a couple ounces of silver. Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on Thursday, February 10th. Now, I know on Thursdays we often have Rafi's weekly silver report, which will still be coming your way tomorrow. It's recorded and ready to go, although, gee, having even lived through the 2007 and 2008 housing crisis meltdown, that was my first year trading options on the American Stock Exchange. And I mean, what was happening then was unprecedented. And I get the feeling that not everybody in the world is able to really grasp what's going on beneath the surface of Wall Street, because they do their best to keep it hidden and then bring weasels like Jeff Curry of Goldman Sachs out to lie so that it's easier for them to steal your money. So I want to be clear. I'm not trying to alarm anyone, but just a lot of the things that people have been worried about. I mean, they're happening now. And fortunately, to join me, because we'll be digging into that. Also, a lot of these things they're not going to affect the silver supply. They are affecting the silver supply as we speak. And fortunately, someone who's quite tuned into the silver supply is Alex Langer of Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, one of the people that is going to be counted on to bring silver to the world. And Alex, great to have you on in here today. How are you, my friend?
I'm really well, Chris. No, thank you so much for including me. Really happy to chat some silver today on the silver-looking background in Vancouver.
I mean, there is a lot going on. I don't know if I'll do my best to get to the highlights in just one episode of the show. But first of all, again, I don't know how much, like, to me, I'm spending all day studying it. I know other people are, but where you have, I don't know if the average guy who's working at Honeywell or Boeing knows what's going on in Canada with these trucks, where they've basically shut down. I guess it started in Ottawa. It has spread. And how that's related to silver is, I mean, we've heard for years about how fragile the silver supply chain is. And then you had over the past year, every supply chain is basically getting fragile. And Alex, you can speak to how that affects the input cost of a silver miner. And then pile on top of that, then now that these trucks are shutting down, first Ottawa, and actually I have something pulled up here that I think will help explain why I keep mentioning that, and why that, I mean, there's a lot of reasons it's relevant to silver, notwithstanding that we had a 7.5% inflation print. That's even with the Fed's new rigged formula. But Alex, here's Rick Rule. He was on Liberty and Finance with Dunnigan Kaiser last year, talking about how this is June 6th, 2021. So this is after the silver squeeze, which, by the way, we'll have an update on that one to cover today.
Absolutely. It's been just over a year, right? It's exciting.
So let's start here and notice what if he says anything that could be related to trucks, Ottawa, and other cities, because this isn't, like Uganda's hockey team, and maybe they have a couple ounces of silver in between their snow pucks. I mean, this is Canada, where a lot of the silver comes from, where a lot of it is purchased. And let's hear what Rick had to say, and then Alex, you can maybe you can explain it, because I can't.
Sure.
We, beginning 4 or 5 weeks ago, began to have an interesting time getting physical silver. We were buying predominantly 1,000-ounce product, which was in fairly good supply. But we bought 50 million ounces of it over 12 months, which means that, anecdotally at least, we used up what was available at the Royal Canadian Mint, and then we used up what was available elsewhere in Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto. And then we used up what was available in Chicago. And then we used up what was available in New York and Boston.
Okay, so this isn't just some dude. This guy running the biggest trust. Apparently they figured out how to get 50 million ounces of silver, because I've been looking at the numbers for a decade and I can't see, any better than this guy who has firsthand access. And now he talks about these cities that now this is what they actually look like. And I'll leave that on for a minute, and maybe you can comment on if he's already drained as much silver as he could get last year. And as we will also dig into here, the demand grows, the supply shrinks. That was Silver Institute's number showing another deficit. Alex, how is the silver going to keep flying? Is there any? Do you think there's any silver on any of those trucks?
Well, definitely. That's one thing people don't realize. I know a lot of your listeners, people that really understand silver, is the amount of use that's used outside of storage of value. It's crazy. Like 50% of all silver mined is going into industrial uses. And of that, solar panels and various other things. So these trucks definitely have a large amount of silver, whatever might be holding them. The truck convoy started here in Vancouver, and it started, relatively modestly, and it's just grown. And the amount of support and the amount of money that's being flown in is incredible. And a lot of it's actually coming from the US, which I found pretty cool today. So it's not just Canada that is supporting it. Now we have the rest of the world. But in terms of silver and what's available to buy and to use, it's dramatically being dried up as we speak, and it's just going to continue. So I don't know exactly when the precipice will happen, but it's exciting. You can see it here. This is important, especially for anybody who's follows silver and understands the need and the importance of it.
Yeah, and Alex, when you see, we'll go back a second so you can actually see the trucks there. When I look at these trucks sitting there parked in that street like that, let's see if I can get it stopped right there. I think about, these silly things like, the GDP and the economy, which, I'm thinking, well, if a lot of trucks aren't bringing stuff anywhere and you're already having supply chain issues, and now we're talking about actually food, whether it's on the shelf or not, which in a lot of places it's not right now.
No,
so it's one thing
for
Goldman Sachs and Justin Castro, Biden, Justin Trudeau. I mean, sorry, I get all confused. To say, they actually lied this morning, say, hey, inflation's up a little bit, but everything's fine. It seems like you already had a fragile economy where the tech stock bubble, I mean, Facebook, which is the American economy, was down 25% one day last week, and then it was down 5% the day after that. Is there like some disconnect where it's like, you see, this is what's actually happening, and it's starting to, like, the walls are closing in on some of these guys. What would you say to that?
I would agree. Like when they talk about a little bit of inflation, that's just ridiculous. Best case, it's literally 14% right now if you want to bring in energy into it. And that's just crazy to me. And for them to be able to continue to say, a little bit of inflation, it's not true. It's unfortunate that, they're telling people it is, to be honest. That's why it is so important to look at, other sources of storage of value, and, silver, gold, whatever it might be. We can't trust these numbers. It's whatever they want it to be. Energy costs are up 33%, and they don't even include that right now. It's bananas to me, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a key part of it, and what hopefully I'm connecting here, where it's like to the point where you can't avoid it anymore. The big silver elephant, he was in the room, then he was peeing on everyone. Now he's shitting in everyone's faces. That's what these governments are doing. And so it's like 7.5% inflation. And you go back and you look at this stuff that's going on. Maybe there's a reason that these people are willing to stand up now, because these governments have taken everything for decades and centuries. And I think that's why look how beautiful it is. There's I'm sure there's some isolated violence here or there, but everything I see is like this, of people peacefully coming together. And if these governments think that this is going to restore already shaky confidence in their fiat paper currencies, as a Canadian, Alex, do you see this reversing?
I think it's a very valid point, Chris. People are really frustrated here. It's kind of got to the point now where we're finally seeing some of the provinces take off restrictions. I know Saskatchewan is as of Monday next week. Here, British Columbia, nothing's happened. Like if I want to go out for dinner with my family, I better not be more than 6 people. Like it's crazy. And when people start to think, government have that much control of what we're trying to do, and let alone, going out to eat. But when they start, messing with people's finances and their livelihoods and their ability to live, it's becoming an issue. And that's what we're seeing here is people are fed up, and they're we're Canadians, so we're peaceful protesting, but it's really starting to take the country by storm, and the rest of the world are really starting to take notice as well. And this is gonna, as you mentioned, Facebook and, kind of the capitulation that happened last week, and the drop, and it's coming. I don't know exactly when that'll happen, but in terms of silver and the price, and people wanting, freedom of their choice, and their capital, it's all kind of coming together. And it's got to start somewhere, and it looks like it's starting here.
Yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out, because I'm sitting here and saying, if these people are that upset, and it's not just Canada, it's not just US, where I left the country because I was that disgusted by what's been happening in the country that I was born in. In fact, that's the second time I left for those exact reasons. Although this time now I left having taken all of the evidence directly to the people that stamped their name on it, and seen, at least now we're seeing the true colors. But I mean, when you see this, I'm guessing these people, maybe some of them, but probably a lot of them, they don't really know maybe what you and I are talking about every day about silver, why people are buying silver, how close this thing is to breaking. And when you run out of silver, or when the tech bubble further implodes, or at the same time, if they're not happy now, like you said, when it's already harder to get food. It's already more expensive if it's there. Now, the one thing that is left to steal the 401ks in the stock market, I mean, how is that going to affect this situation?
It's going to be exponential, to be honest. That's the one thing they haven't quite touched yet, but I'm sure they're working on it, right? We've seen it in the US. We've seen it for the last 20 years in terms of, fiat currencies and reprinting money. And it's frustrating, to say the least, because, we've been living it. But there is a lot more education now, thanks to people like you who are explaining the situation, and your views are growing. And the silver squeeze, which was a year ago, that brought a lot of attention to it. And it's important. I think it's going to continue. So as people get more educated, and people have similar ideas, and see freedom rallies like this, then it's just all going to kind of come together. And it's starting to happen now. And yeah, this is how these things start.
Yeah, Alex, it's funny you mentioned that silver squeeze was just a year ago. In fact, you and I, we were planning to do this call about 2 weeks ago, although things were happening, and I had a whole different set of plans and things that I was planning to do for the silver squeeze, to really review those panels and have people dig in. But it was like before I could get to that, you had this happening. And I mean, premiums were already shooting up before we got to the anniversary. And as we'll dig into another thing that happened that day too. But before that, I wondered, now that this is happening, and this isn't just, a day, it was a Saturday in the park, or a Sunday or in the park, making it a weekend. I mean, this is daily now. And now people are organizing, and people are voluntarily giving their money to support it. Not like the government taking the money. But if it was hard to get certain silver products delivered, which was reflected by spiked premiums even prior to silver squeeze anniversary, which was when this began. Let's say you want to order, let's say you're looking, and I've talked to Andy Scheckman of Miles Franklin, who said a lot of the calls he's getting is that people are saying, I just want my money out of the banking system now. So let's say one of those people is at this protest, and they're talking to their friends, and maybe someone mentions about silver in the economy. Let's say you want 5,000 ounces of silver. You're cashing out your 401k. You're saying, oh, all right, I've seen enough. I'm not going to wait for the rest of the world to piece this together. I'm getting my stuff out now. How easy do you think it is to get that silver delivered right now?
It would be extraordinarily difficult. I know there's run-ons that constantly happen at Golden Bullion Exchange here in Vancouver. There's, outside of Ottawa, one of the major transportation, at least the border controls, I think it's 4 days, is being completely shut down. So it's going to become difficult. I know you mentioned the Sprott ETF earlier. He's struggling to buy enough to meet that demand. And if anybody's looking to purchase silver, it's a great way, that ETF, but you also need to have some hard value in storage as well. So it's all kind of tied in together. But yeah, if you wanted to buy 5,000 ounces of silver, good luck to you. unless you're going to be paying some big premiums, unfortunately. And we see it online. If you look at the pricing, it's such a big differentiation between, certain price and all the way even higher. And it's all fees and middlemen and things like that. But there's no other way of getting it right now, unfortunately. And with, as you mentioned, supply distribution, challenges, and we've seen it. If you want to order furniture, you're 6-7 months away. If you want to get food, it's difficult as well to get. And silver is just going to be part of that, and it's going to make it that much, more difficult to attain, especially if more people want to buy it.
So based on what you just said there, I would imagine it would be fair to say that, let's say you ordered your 1,000 ounces of silver. If you can find someplace in Canada that has it and says they will send it, if you wanted it at the same speed that you normally would have gotten, let's say you're a repeat customer,
yeah,
probably if that's even possible, would cost you more just because of supply and demand of a broken. Now you have the silver supply chain fragility. Now we're talking about the delivery supply chain fragility,
exactly.
Plus price of gas and everything going up faster, as we mentioned before. So in the very least, your ounce of silver, if you're in Canada, regardless of what that dipshit COMEX says, your physical silver just became more valuable.
100%. No, so this is a true story. I bought a couple 100 ounces of silver myself just for Christmas at a higher spot price than it is right now. But if I wanted to replicate what I just bought, there's no chance I'd be able to buy it at the same price. Again, because of the things you just said, transportation costs, fuel costs, intermediate costs, they've all gone up. So even though the spot price might be showing a little bit less, if you wanted physical silver, it's going to be substantially more. And it's not inconsequential.
Yeah, and Alex, just to compound onto that, going back to our inflation report, you're one of the people that, all right, when this chunk of silver runs out, we're counting on people like you and others to go dig it out.
100%.
When this, I mean, you probably didn't need to see this ridiculous silliness. You're probably paying invoices that are getting more expensive each month. I mean, if you're even eating food yourself, the cost to run your business just went up.
No question about it. And so for us, Sierra Madre Gold and Silver, we're a silver explorer, but we want to become a producer. Being fortunate enough, when I was at Canaccord, I was a broker there and was able to see kind of the crux of the situation where if you able to go from exploration to production, the amount of revenue and the amount of profits that a company can build is extraordinary, especially on a silver run bull market. So what we're trying to do is kind of meet that demand for when this happens. I know it's probably going to happen before we're quite ready, but as long as you have all your ducks in a row, you can be ready for that increase in pricing. And that's what we're trying to get to. So we got a couple projects in Mexico, not too far from you right now. And we're really pushing as quickly as we can to get in production because that silver price is going to go up. And if we can, be there and be ready for when that price inflection happens, your cost per ounce is going to be low and your profitability is going to be quite high. And if we look at some of the other silver companies right now, I know Endeavor is storing their silver just because they're expecting a much higher price. So it really gives us a lot of flexibility, a lot of leverage, and that's why we do it. That's what we're keen on.
Yeah, Alex, it's funny you mentioned that because we actually had Endeavor on last week. And I'm going to pull this up here so you can take a look at it. They were talking about how they've been withholding supply.
Yeah.
First Majestic has talked about that. And it's interesting for people who have YouTube channels. Usually right at the beginning is when you get the most views. And so but I've never seen a view curve quite like this because it did well the first couple of days, yet this thing just, I don't know if it got in someone's algorithm, but it's kind of like gone longer, which to me, I think is a sign of somebody saying, oh, well, this is something maybe worth paying attention to. I've talked with a lot of companies that support this, whether mining companies or shareholders or other groups, which basically, I have a lot going on here, but these are the things I'm organizing that Jeff Curry of CNBC or Goldman Sachs might not know about, but are happening behind the scenes. Now you're someone who's going to be producing metal and you're aware of it. Just
no, it's good. Yeah, I saw that video actually. It's fantastic. I know Dan. He's a good guy. And when I saw it, I think there was 2,000 or 3,000 views. The fact that it's now really approaching, was it over 20,000? That's awesome. So again, it's just, I love this educational component. I love being able to explain silver and the process behind it. And it's not easy to get. If you want to mine it, it's very difficult. And you have a great miner like Endeavor that's holding back. It just goes to show what they believe in and what they see. So it's important, and I'm glad you're able to produce those types of videos. And I'm really happy that a lot more people are watching them.
Yeah, and Alex, although if you said it's not that easy to get, which in my opinion, you're a qualified expert, I'm assuming that this inflation, which is driving up prices, plus the impediments that Justin Trudeau is impinging upon the economy, have made it even harder on the silver supply as well. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. And this inflation thing, it's scary. I know I was chatting about it earlier, but we're best case scenario, inflation only goes up marginally. If you had $100 in your pocket right now, it's going to be worth $60 in 10 years. Like that's a lot. If people are storing their cash for money, or I don't want to call it money, but their worth in cash right now, you're just giving it away. And it's awful to see. I have lots of friends and people I know that put in the bank and get 1 or 2%, and they're happy. They're losing money on a daily basis. And that's why we turn to hard assets such as silver. Lucky right now, we could probably buy 3 ounces for $100, if you can find it. But in 10 years, there's no chance. This is kind of the inflection point. And I hope people are waking up.
And just imagine if everybody watching this right now just took a second to congratulate themselves for being on board with silver, but then said, let me think if there's at least got to be one or maybe a couple hundred truckers I know somewhere in my life that I could send them this video. And imagine what all those truckers might be thinking while they're sitting around with some free time. Maybe, it could be fun entertainment to say, wow, we're going to learn some valuable tricks to take our money back from the government. So that's just the kind of thing that pops into my head from time to time.
Yeah.
And Alex, here's one I have to run by you, because again, that day we were supposed to talk, and I asked you if we could kindly reschedule. This was 2 weeks ago today. It was a Thursday right before the trucker convoy started. The price of silver on the fraudulent COMEX was down $1. And I just finished reviewing Rafi's weekly silver report, where he's talking about how the premiums had shot up. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Well, when we actually think about what happened last year during silver squeeze, it wasn't that they ran out of silver. The dealers ran out of what they had hedged. So they had to wait until Sunday night. So as I'm comparing these things, I'm saying, wow, we've had premium spike. We didn't even get to the anniversary, which I was going to make a spectacle of. I mean, we had a replay marathon going all week. So, certainly some people watched, had it reinforced. Others saw the truth for the first time. Yet I'm sitting there thinking, because this was when I was like, I have to put more money into my option account, which I'm not recommending to anyone else, but just as my own barometer of when I see, oh my God, because it's breaking. If the price of even junk silver coins is spiking while the COMEX is down $1, to me, that's the spread is blowing out. It's like, I get it. Some people just want to know when silver's 50 or 100 or $200, and that's fine. But if you want to, for the people who study and are more active, want to know, similar with what we saw in The Big Short, all right, they eventually collapsed. What were the signals, the canaries in the coal mine? And so right as I was digesting this, all of a sudden, one of the guys from First Majestic, he sends me an email. He's like, hey, Keith wants to know if you can talk to him later today. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Make a little time. And I'm like, we're doing an interview or what? He's like, hey, well, CNBC just invited him on for a piece about Silver Squeeze weekend. I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting. So we have this bubble, which is the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, which is only able to be maintained as long as they get people, they lie to them, drug them up on some Pfizer drug, or just outright kill them. I mean, I heard somebody suggest, well, we'll leave that aside. That was another episode. But I mean, if anybody actually listens to Ross Benham or Jeff Curry or Goldman Sachs, or the phone call when I called iShares and asked them to explain how the price of silver falls 10%, well, on the same day they're setting records for greatest inflows in history, and they can't.
Yeah.
And then I'm hearing Keith wants to talk to you because CNBC is going to do a piece on thinking, or maybe these deep staters are dumber than I thought. So finally, Alex, the long-winded setup here, but I got a message today. Apparently, CNBC, the true cowards that they are, and there's no excuse for CNBC not knowing about this. I've been talking to one of the reporters for either 2 or 3 years now, had all the information for the big silver short. I contacted them several times about saying, Jeff Curry of Goldman Sachs, he committed a felony, multiple felonies on your channel. Here's the evidence. I've submitted it to the CFTC. I've submitted to a whole bunch of other places. She even confirmed, my boss looked at it, they were wondered if you had heard back from the CFTC. I was a little stunned when they said that. So they knew about the crime. And I asked to talk to this guy still. So just for the record, and this will be settled because this is what I do in my spare time. We're taking care of this stuff, and I know some people think sometimes I get a little frosty or angry, but this is my therapy. So things like Jamie Dimon, who gets paid a $34 million bonus off of dirty money. Now I've been organizing my plans because now we have specific asset pools that any judge with integrity can freeze. So now we're redirecting the chi for the wind at our sails. And maybe CNBC, maybe they're just as scared and cowardly as I believe them to be. But in either case, we find out today, after calling Keith not once, we spent a half hour with him. Then they called him back a second time.
Wow.
And we find out today they declined to air the piece.
Wow.
They did tweet it out. So this is CNBC on February 10th. The financial experts that they are, the true criminals that they are, which I've been documented. We'll leave that for another day. But just people watching at home, if there's someone driving around in a truck or up in Canada or elsewhere around people with trucks, and maybe there's a speaker and someone's putting this on a speaker so that other people who are already seeing the depravity of some of what's going on want to know the truth about how their money is being stolen, because it's done in a very disgustingly deceptive way that most people, unless you spend all day studying it, can't grasp. But just like, a lot of things are avoided, the CNBC declined to put it on the channel. But fortunately, Silverman tracked it down for the Arcadians and my man, Alex. Alex, now that I've talked about it for a half hour, would you like to hear the clip?
I would love to. I had no idea. I had no idea. Search for the clip online, and that's interesting.
That's why people.
Wow.
That's why real investors subscribe to Arcadia Economics and hit the notification bell and turn CNBC off, because my man Chris takes the pain for them. But here we go.
There you go.
And listen to all this crap just so you guys could hear. Here's their coverage of silver.
Last year around this time, the price of silver futures surged 8% in just a day, touching an 8-year high on February 1st, 2021. The pop believed to be driven by online retail traders who were trying to squeeze the market. And this year, the physical silver market.
Online retail traders are trying to squeeze the market. That Jeff Curry and his friends were so scared of that they, after they were done lying on this same CNBC, they actually changed the SLV prospectus specifically to protect them against a squeeze. So there's a little fear there that CNBC is not astute enough to pick up on, but I'm all over it, and I'm just getting started.
Squeeze the market. And this year, the physical silver market is expected to post another deficit, only to be made worse in the coming years because of increased demand from industrials and clean technology.
Alex, I'm sorry, my mind drifted. I must not have been paying attention. Maybe we can recap that. You could. Did I hear that correct?
The physical silver market is expected to post another deficit, only to be made worse in the coming years because of increased demand from industrials.
We did hear, she did say that there's a deficit already. It's going to be made worse, and the price of silver is falling through this. I did hear that correctly?
100%. No.
Okay.
She said
clean technology like electronics to EVs. If silver futures continue past this key technical level of $24 an ounce, miners like Pan American and others could follow suit, all while supply is expected to.
Now, she did not address whether Melvin Capital will be involved in the put side of the
Yeah.
trading of these stocks. So we'll leave that aside for now.
Remain strained.
We do sell silver off our website to the retail investors, but it takes us an enormous amount of time to actually convert silver from the mine into retail products. The mints just don't have the capacity. It takes between 6 to 10 months for us to turn around metal into a retail product.
But can we expect?
First of all, let us notate Keith Newmeyer was
Yeah,
on
he made it.
CNBC.
He made it.
They were so scared of the truth, those fraudulent traders that they are, that they tried to axe it even after wasting his time twice. Although I'll take care of that for Keith. I'll help him with that if he wants to be reimbursed. But Alex, what about what he just said there about how you could have silver price go up? Yeah. You're not flipping the switch there. I mean, or unless Keith can't figure it out. Did you? Can you know how to flip the switch?
No, and he's, one of the biggest silver producers in the world, and the fact that he is a retail component is huge for us and for anybody who wants to acquire silver. But the fact it takes you a year to get your silver, best case, and this is coming from one of the top miners, to show the difficulty of acquiring hard currency in silver right now. And it's not going to slow down. She just said, look at the demand increase that's going to happen for industrials, for clean tech, for everything. So you think that 12 months takes a long time? Just wait.
Well, fortunately, we'll just wait, because there's more, including, I believe we do have a quote from a true shameful banking organization coming up.
Silver squeeze repeat from last year? Not everyone thinks so.
As rates are expected to.
Bart Mellick. Now I'm gonna look up if this is the same guy who wrote the night silver was coming down, that hit piece. And let's just say, Alex, between last year and this year, I've met some people out there in the world, and I get access to some things that a lot of people don't get to see. So I have a better understanding of certain things, in my opinion. Maybe other people might disagree, but I would call, now I don't know if Bart wrote it, but along with the JP Morgan hit piece where they downgraded the sector while they were getting their doors blown off again, because there is rumor that the swap lines in September of 2019 was a bailout of JP Morgan. And that was shortly following when silver spiked through 20. Interesting timing on that. So when we're talking about JP Morgan's doors getting blown off, it could be Bernie Madoff, the London Whale, or any of these other things. I'll learn to be more specific about that. Now, whether Bart Mellick is the one who wrote the hit piece for TD Ameritrade that did not look at any of the factors that you have to deal with, Alex, that report did not cite the increased demand on all levels or any of that stuff, but it said the hashtag silver squeeze on Twitter by day 3 or 4, the hashtag count was down. So before anyone gets conned into the hypnotic bullshit out of these banks like TD, and I don't know this guy, but you'll listen to how stupid this guy is.
Move higher.
I'm sorry for being, I'm not sorry. The guy should know better. Listen to what he says.
From last year, not everyone thinks so.
As rates are expected to move higher, we've seen a definite move away from gold, and that has hit silver as well.
All right, Alex, have you seen a definite move away from physical gold?
Definitely not physical. Definitely not. No.
It doesn't say silver there, although I actually looked earlier today, and it looks like about 12 million ounces over the last 4 weeks have gone into the SLV, and we talked about what the physical dealer is doing. So right off the bat, technically, he didn't say silver yet, but you can make your own assumption on that.
It's unlikely that silver investors will come in a meaningful way to drive that market into a significant.
Well, at least it's clear that he did miss what happened last year. Maybe someone should honk their truck horn at this idiot.
Significant deficit.
We've got diverging opinions on silver.
Oh, wait. He said the deficit part there.
Silver investors will come in a meaningful way to drive that market into a significant deficit.
We've got
He says silver investors won't come in any meaningful way to drive that market into a deficit when it's already been in a deficit. That's what he missed last year. That's what he's been missing since then. And he's going out there and costing people their money by saying stuff like that he knows not to be true. And if he doesn't know that it's not true, he should damn well know that it's not true, because people have been pointing it out. And now people are losing their money. In the same way with COVID, people are dying because of stuff that I think is known to not be true. All right, how come he didn't look at Silver Institute? Demand Georgia Williams figured it out.
Yep.
She's not on CNBC. How come CNBC didn't? I told them it was wrong. I told them they committed a felony. I told them I was pissed off about it and I wasn't going to let it go. And they tried to blow me off thinking I'm some stupid asshole on the silver, just like Justin Trudeau says, that he actually said tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. Well, maybe they think all those people are going to go home. Maybe they think, Alex, you're going to quit and just tell your shareholders, sorry, I lost all your money because the government lied and that we're all going to give up. But George Williams was able to figure it out. How come Bart of TD Ameritrade, if I ask them on for an interview, you think they'll come on? Or is it going to take till we have to settle this in the discovery phase? Why did they put that article? And I'll look up at some point. Here, I did an article. Why can't Bart watch that? If he doesn't like me, get your shit right, Bart. Because you're affecting people's lives. You're one of them, Alex. And you've explained how the other people who are out there pissed off in those trucks.
Yeah. No, I think you said it all, Chris. I encourage people to continue to do your research. Just understand. You see how passionate Chris is here. He cares. He really does care, and he cares for all his listeners and everyone who's involved in the sector. He's doing the research and he's doing great work for everybody. So again, Chris, I thank you, and I really, really enjoy speaking with you.
It's not even just silver. This is like, all right, we knew governments were bad dudes, but oh my God. And then on top of it, this one I just saw right before we started. Now, keep in mind, we have one Fed governor after another. I mean, these guys were front running everything. And then after all this, now inflation is soaring, which Jerome Powell, he was shocked. He couldn't have seen it. You saw it last year. I talked to you about last year, and 8 million other people. But now they're saying whispers of an emergency Fed rate hike. So I'll bet the people in the protests, they didn't hear the whispers, but I'll bet their the Fed's friends at the banking houses like Goldman Sachs and CNBC, do you think they got the whispers, Alex?
Absolutely. It's coming. Just take a look at mortgage rates. The rates, at least here in Canada, are the same as they were a year ago. If you wanted a mortgage, if you're just struggling, you save a bit of money, now you get to buy your first place, your apartment, whatever you can get. Well, rates for them haven't gone up. For me, for the average person, it's more than double what it was, less than 6 months ago. So something's happening, and they are going to increase rates. They'll probably go up, at least 1%. They should be much higher, but it's coming. So and they know it.
Yeah. And Alex, I guess last one about the markets, then fortunately we can go to some positive news with what you're doing in overcoming this monstrosity. But again, we see Fed inflation surges 7.5%, and here on a Thursday, silver price now down 11 cents. And again, all right, on one hand, I know the write-up will be, well, look, the Dow finally dropped. It's actually down. They juiced it back up. That was fraudulent, and then dropped it again, which is beyond disgusting. And anyone who's been in finance knows how that goes. But there was nobody was selling their physical silver today. This was just the same banks did the same thing they got caught doing last year on Silver Squeeze weekend, which is difficult to watch, although at least what keeps me going day by day is that at least once you understand it, your decision, all right, well, this thing says 23.20-ish. Do I say I'm done with this silver stuff and sell it and load up on treasuries or Facebook shares, or at least it makes it clear? And with that said, any other comments on the supply, and then perhaps you can talk on Sierra Madre and let people know what you're doing in response to that. But to me, I add all these things together. The demand is soaring, and the supply, it doesn't look like a good situation, even besides the financial impact now in terms of like the silver the world needs. This isn't a joke anymore.
It's not, no. And again, we touched on it earlier, but again, the amount of silver that's used in just our daily lives in terms of medical reasons, and you mentioned the trucks and auto manufacturers, there's a ton of silver being used. It's not going to slow down. Green, specifically, Teslas and EV cars. I know Ford's coming out with a bunch more, Mercedes, BMW. I think they're doing a big ad on a new EV that they're launching at the Super Bowl this weekend. the amount of silver used in the new EVs compared to older vehicles is huge amount. Lithium and demand for any types of these metals is going to be skyrocketing through the roof, let alone silver. And again, it's just such an amount that needs to be used that the demand deficit is skyrocketing, and it's not going to slow down. So as I mentioned, Sierra Madre, what we're trying to do here is, meet that demand in some small capacity. It's going to take a little bit of it, and there's so much more that needs to come online. So we're focused on that. We've been in Mexico since kind of 1993. Our chief operating officer, executive chairman, Greg Liller, he's actually had 7 projects become mines, which is truly unheard of. Talking to the Super Bowl, that's kind of the Tom Brady of mine development, if you will. So he's worked in this area since '93. He absolutely loves it. It's an area where we can work, we can get permits, we can get things done, and we can produce silver. So that's what we're looking for. We have a couple projects right now. We've actually been able to move a drill rig to site earlier this week. So we're actually drilling as we speak right now, which is quite exciting. So we're hopefully find some silver. Our goal is production. So fortunately enough, our Tepic project, there's been about $20 million spent on the ground there, 31,000 meters of drilling. So when you're, looking for a project, you have to drill it, and you have to put engineering work behind it before you can get into production. So there's already been $20 million spent on the project. We're going to be spending a bunch more. We're drilling as we speak. The goal is to come out with a resource report kind of second half of this year. And then we're going to start to put economics around that project and push towards production to hopefully meet some of that silver demand, because it's coming. It's here now, I should say. It's been here for a while, and it's only going to get worse. And we want to be able to, meet that delta and, benefit all the shareholders.
Yeah, and Alex, I have the projects page pulled up here, which, as you well know, I'm not very far away from Tepic. I actually drove through there a couple of weeks ago, and it's interesting because you may have been on this panel from Silverfest. We still have that one to air, but when we're looking at, let's say you came from another planet and you wanted silver, what are the regions you would go to? We really tried to isolate 5. I think we ended up with 2 different regions in Mexico, maybe Nevada, California, a couple spots in Canada as well. But I mean, this is really, especially we know Mexico is the silver capital of the world, but perhaps you could tell people a little bit more about Tepic and anything. I'll have the map pulled up here if there's any other pages you want me to direct to.
Love to chat about it. So we're Nayarit, not far from you. So it's a little bit more of an overlooked area, but hence the opportunity. If you look at this mine here, you see those little mining signs, all kind of scattered throughout these projects. Those are historic mines. This is from the colonial days when the Spanish conquistadors, even the previous indigenous population, they were mining silver within this area. There's larger projects up north in Mexico that have been exploited because it's easier to find, and it was just a larger area. So this has been underexplored, and hence the opportunity for us. We feel this is a district that really hasn't been developed yet, and that's why we're pushing towards it. We've added another project as well, just to the north, about 140 kilometers away. So these 2 projects really tie in well with each other, especially for their production scenario. We are looking for more, so any shareholders or anybody who's interested in seeing a company grow, that's what we're trying to do. We really feel the benefit for us is going to be going from discovery into the production stage. And that's what we're pushing towards. We're well capitalized. We have over $10 million in the bank. We're going to be exploring these projects really, really heavily over the next 6 months. It's a perfect place to work. We can work there all year round. And we're going to be delivering some big milestones to the market, specifically that resource, and hopefully a discovery at our new project.
Yeah, and Alex, it was funny, as I was driving through there, it was also shortly after I had finished reading that book, The Silver Magnet, from our dear friend Jorge Ramiro Monroy of Reina Silver. And I'm not sure. I believe he's also technically part of the team here as well, right?
Yeah, he's a founding director. So Jorge is just awesome. He is one of my best friends. Super smart. He's obviously from Mexico. It's his relationships that were able to get us our new project, La Tigra. La Tigra is a project that was in production for about 100 years, which is just crazy. I had never seen any modern mining exploration. Shut down in early 90s. So we were able to pick that up from Grupo, and Grupo is a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation. So because of his contacts and his people and his relationships, we were able to bring on that project. So yeah, Jorge, I know, has been speaking with you a few times, and he's a tremendous part of the team. He really is.
Yeah, and plus, while I don't want to set him up as the agent for this guy, but I mean, his thing, an offshoot of Dr. Peter McGaw, who founded Mag Silver. And at least in my time in the silver world, if you were had one geologist to pick for your kickball team, it seems like everybody seems to agree he's the smartest guy around there. Really fun guy too when we got him on the show. And then when you think, as I was reading that book, The Silver Magnet, along with the conversations I've had with the different people running the companies, it just helped me to point out how, I think in many areas of life, we think, all right, well, this guy tried it, either done or it hasn't done, but things aren't always that black and white, where it's like, all right, well, these guys tried it in the 1800s. They knew there was silver there, but then some guys started drinking too much tequila and they ran out of money. Yeah. Yet that doesn't mean, all right, well, if we have, our management in check, if we have the money in place and we have new updated equipment, it's actually really nice seeing how, especially if you like studying silver and you like history and like reading, some people can get involved on a company level, but also it's something that people can actually say, wait a second, there are opportunities here. And it's nice that you have all of that expertise along with other sections, and that you can, I mean, what is it, like Elon Musk? Is he going to wake up tomorrow and he's going to say, all right, well, I got some capital, I'm going to go look, but he need people who know how to do it, which is really what I think is one of your biggest advantages that you have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Greg, who I mentioned earlier, he's found over 600 million ounces of silver. It's just an incredible amount. So we've really
got more than the COMEX.
So really an incredible team. Like this, he doesn't need to worry. We'll have him on your show soon enough. He's just a wonderful person. But when you talk about that Mount Rushmore of geologists, Peter McGaw, and then Greg would be in there too. So it's wonderful to have that type of team. Just a quick anecdote before we end up. So our new project, La Tigra, it's been taking us a while to get assay results. So assay results, you drill or you trench or you take samples, you got to send it off to a lab to confirm the amount of silver or gold located in it. So we have this one project and we've been having trouble getting assays because there's so much excitement, there's so much backlog in the assay labs that we've actually resorted to panning for gold in our northern project. So we, see some gold tails. Oh, great, we're in the right direction. We can now move on to the next trench. It's gone so well for us that we've actually brought in one of the gold panners from our northern project to our Tepic project, and he's been panning silver in Tepic for us, which is really cool. So I had never seen it before, but he's able to show us in direction of where we should continue to explore by panning silver, which is just a neat little thing.
Well, actually, let me know. I'd like to go down there for a day because I've been wanting to learn to pan for silver, and it just, also it just seems like a nice thing to do, especially Mexico. It's a little bit warmer than I hear from most other people right now. And just, I'm thinking, take my dog out there, the guitar, you have your pan there. And I mean, how much silver if someone pans for silver for a day? What can you find a couple ounces or how does that go?
Yeah, not huge amounts. Some of this you have to process a bit further. Like a native silver is the beautiful specimens you get. And I know at Jorge's project, Batapilas, there's some of the most incredible discovery made of silver you've ever seen, and there are museums around the world. So this is inside another material that would have to be processed down the road, but you can see it. You can definitely see it, and it's a fun thing to do. So I'll be back down in a couple of weeks, and definitely, Chris, if you want to come join, we'll pan for a little bit of silver. It'll be fun.
I will look forward to seeing you there. And Alex, perhaps in wrapping up, for anyone sitting at home where they're like, well, it sounds kind of like fun, but let's just get the big load, and they don't feel like doing it themselves. They have questions for you about Sierra Madre, silver mining, silver stocks, or anything else in that category. Can you let them know the website address? I got the contact page pulled up. What's the best way for them to get in touch?
If you see that number there, that's actually my cell phone. So I have no problem chatting with people anytime. I was a broker at Canada's largest independent brokerage house, especially if anybody is US or international. It can be difficult to open accounts and to buy and sell, securities, stocks, things like that. So I'm well versed and happy to point people in the right direction. Always happy to chat silver. And if anybody has any questions, that's my email. I get the investor at sierramadregoldandsilver.com, and that's my cell phone. So it's open for anybody, and any questions. Love to chat and love to educate. And any questions in the market at all, I'm always around and happy to chat.
Well, Alex, be careful. I think the viewers are going to have a lot of questions. They don't know that they have them yet. But, again, folks at home, A, thank you for watching. B, hit the share button so you can send this to that's the Arcadian challenge. For everyone watching, I would say, can you find at least one person who either drives a truck or knows someone who drives a truck, or share it on Twitter, so that this way they can know about some of these other great things. And Alex, I appreciate you joining me today. New part of the Arcadian family, so we'll be looking forward to checking in with you again soon. And hey, maybe we'll break 10% on inflation next month. You never know, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I think you're right. Thank you so much, Chris. Really happy to chat, and look forward to chatting again here in the near future.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon.